So I got this new
Yes, looking
microphone
good.
set up and everything. So I try to do like a YouTube channel on the weekends. So I bought like this new little setup to make it sound better. So, but thank you for that introduction. That's the first time I've ever had an introduction. So that was neat. It was very fancy. But no, she is correct. So I was a weather forecaster for 12 years. I joined when I was 21 years old, and I told my recruiter, whatever job gets me out of my parents' house, I will take that one. And that one opened up fast. So if you know anybody that's in the service, or if you also were in the service, thank you so much. It was a blessing because it helped me become a training manager. What it was is one of my additional duties. They asked me if, hey, do you want to be our training manager? I said, sure. And I fell in love with it. So when I got out of the service in 2021, that's what I focused a lot of my time into looking for. And I didn't start with correctional managed care till 2022 because that's how long it took me to find work. It was very frustrating. So I've been here since March 2022, and they asked me that, hey, we want you to focus on professional development with our healthcare staff. Now, um, a lot of our staff at UTMB and Correctional Managed Care is nurses. I think they make up like 60% of our populations. So what we do is we focus a lot on conflict resolution, mediation, and stuff like that. Well, this past year, UTMB, the campus as a whole, decided they wanted to focus on wellness. And so on that, I went on that journey with them for the last year, and it was fantastic. So when we had our conference come up, I decided to discuss some of it. If you guys have any questions during the presentation, I do not mind. If you ask it during, if you want to raise your hand, I will try to find you. And or if you just want to blurt out a question, that's totally okay with me. It does not disrupt the flow or anything like that. I believe most training is proficient when there's an open dialogue. It's a lot easier than just sitting there listening to somebody for an hour plus. So please feel free, chime in. It does not bother me at all. And we will get going. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll go through some of this stuff. And if you have any points you'd like to make, because I'm going to talk about personal things in my life. So if there's anything that you want to discuss, I mean, feel free. I feel like wellness is more than just a workflow thing. It also dives into how you are at home spills over to work. I know everybody says like, oh, I don't like to mix my personal life and my work life. To a degree, sometimes they mix. You can't always avoid not bringing something at home, whether it be something negative, stressful, what be you. So, um, well, actually, before I get started, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. So I have three children. We live in kind of the Houston, Texas area. I'm not from this area. My wife is, so I moved down here. I'm actually from Central Texas. I know everybody was talking about where they were from earlier. Um, one of my duty stations was in North Carolina, and that's one state I really miss during the springtime. North Carolina, to me, is one of the most beautiful states I have ever been to. Even though I was there in a military capacity, it was still like I was there for 5 years and it was so fun. I always want to go back. But we have three children. I have a 12-year-old daughter, and then we have a 4-year-old and 2-year-old son who are they're about to be 5 and 3. So we get the fun stages of both sets of all three children. Right now, we have a preteen daughter, and then we have two toddler boys who like to destroy almost everything. So the reason it's so quiet in my house right now is because they are at the park. They are letting me do this from home. So, but if they weren't here, you would hear all kinds of things in the background. Um, but no, they have been fantastic. So that being said, I look forward to this. So let me go ahead and I'll share my screen and we will get going. So I came up with can everybody see that? Let me just ask that. Let me start this presentation.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So, oh man, I lost y'all. Let's do this. Oh, come on. Sorry about this. I'm trying to minimize because it brings up my notes on the other side, and I don't want to see my notes. I want to see the chat. So, okay. So I call this something fancy. It was called Stress and Blessed and Wellness Obsessed. So some of these slides you're going to notice, I geared them towards our conference that we had this it was in September. We had it at Moody Gardens there in Galveston, Texas. And a lot of our conferences is really focused on our management staff. So some of these are going to be, oh, if you're a manager, what would you do to improve the wellness of your staff? Now, that can also be shifted onto the focus of what can you do as a teammate or even as yourself or other people around you when we're talking about employee well-being. So, oh, Nancy, I'm sorry, you cannot hear the sound. Everybody can hear me good though? I
Yes.
might just okay, so it's just probably from the phone.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so it's just her using from the phone. Okay, that's okay. So the difference between well-being and wellness, I mean, those are kind of interchangeable. Well-being is like pretty much the whole picture of how you feel at life and when you're at work. Because, like I said, sometimes you avoid trying to like not spill over, but it's almost inevitable. You know, you can tell when somebody's stressed about something or somebody is going through. Let me just provide some examples that we've had here within correctional managed care. Um, Divorce is one. Children, you know, when so sometimes of our staff has children going off to college or they have children that are causing issues at home. That's a big one. And then um, we've had some illnesses and family members that spill over. And it's hard not to. I mean, this is we're human beings. It's hard to just shut it off when you come into the workplace. So it's completely understandable. It's how you maintain that level of emotional intelligence when you are kind of dealing with certain things. And, nobody's perfect. I'm not expecting you to, not get stressed about something or somebody could say the wrong thing or do the wrong thing. It's only human to kind of, I wouldn't say blow up, but, act accordingly. So don't feel discouraged. I always tell people, like, I mean, I do it too. So if you get upset about something because of something else, it's okay. Like it doesn't mean like, oh man, I'm a terrible person or I do not know how to keep my emotions in check. No, you're allowed, sometimes the cup is going to overflow. That's totally fine. We are human beings. And then wellness are the things that you do better to like, to be more either physically active or, being less physically active, which we'll talk about that, or how you choose to be more spiritually well. These are like little aspects of the dimension wheel that we'll discuss that improve your overall well-being. The wellness is the tools you get or the kind of the actions that you use to improve your overall well-being. So any questions on that? I mean, I wouldn't say it's self-explanatory because I don't think that's completely fair, but it's a lot to like everybody wants to kind of mix the two and I totally understand. But so why does it matter? Why does improving your wellness and well-being matter? Um, at work, it boosts productivity. How it does that, if you are in a positive mindset when you come to work, you're there to work. So, like, for instance, I'll give you an example of myself. I have been I was stressed out about a couple things, and I noticed, and it wasn't even just me that noticed. My boss noticed too, is that I was losing focus. So, like, I get into work and I'm easily distracted or I zone out and I'm not doing the things I need to do. And so that's where I need to figure out, okay, what can I do to cause myself to be less stressed or tackle the things that are stressing me out when I'm not there at work because I need to stay focused. Um, it reduces your burnout and absenteeism. What I mean by that, like, so, when people are stressed or they're overworked, I mean, sometimes they're just not going to show up. I mean, some of these things can really spill over into, you know, depression and stuff like that, where people just don't want to be there. So um, it's a big reason. Like it helps retention. It helps um, business success by like if you have better productivity, if you have more retention, you have people that are less burnout. Obviously, that's going to drive your business success. It enhances engagement. So what I mean by that, like when you have people that have improved wellness, it kind of really does become infectious. So, and the same with the other, like if somebody's more negative, I don't know if y'all have been around somebody that's like constantly negative, but it can be infectious. Misery loves company. But I also think the same about if somebody's a really positive. You've been around somebody that's really positive. I mean, it's really going to brighten your day. So it really does make it more engaging and it builds a team culture. You know, there are many times when we have to deal with at CMC, and I'll give you a little kind of like a situation um, where we had two individuals. They were going up for a promotion, and of course, one of them got it, the other one didn't, obviously. And so, person A got the promotion, person B didn't. So, what she decided to do, person B, was make person A's life miserable. Made it miserable for months. And when I say months, I mean like 6, 7 months. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to do this for a few weeks, you know? And so person B decided that she wanted to get a couple individuals on her side, and she did. She got like two or three of them, and they would make this, the person that got the promotion, it would be miserable. She couldn't lead her team, she couldn't manage her team because they would fight her every step of the way. So person A, she hires somebody young. She said she was bubbly, full of personality. She thought she was going to be a breath of fresh air, and she gets hired on, and within a few weeks, like 2 or 3 weeks, that group kind of pretty much wiped her out. They made her so miserable that she quit. Now, fast forward, what had happened is that person B eventually she ended up quitting herself. She got so disgruntled. She wanted another job title or something like that. I can't remember, but they weren't gonna give it to her, so she quit. And as soon as she quit, the other two individuals, they kind of just they stopped fighting the good fight, and now the team is, a full functioning, well-oiled machine. So it's easy to see how much like somebody that's so negative and that can bring down, everybody else's well-being and like just their positive culture, like how it can affect everything. And if you just pluck that one person out, take out that one splinter, how it can improve in a team culture. It happens all the time. It's not just a correctional managed care kind of problem. It's a culture problem, and it's happened in the military. Anywhere I've been, you'll see there's always somebody that enjoys being negative for some odd reason and enjoys taking people down with them. It's confusing to me as an individual because work's already a stressful place. So why would somebody want to come in and make it more stressful? But it happens all the time. You're gonna see it. So recognize it. And if you start seeing people kind of start flocking towards a negative person, try to interject, because when you have healthy employees, you're gonna have a healthy business. Like I said, it's gonna be a well-oiled machine. So yeah, that's like, and it's funny because I know person A, when I first started, and she's like the sweetest person. I don't understand, but I digress. So we're going to talk about the 8 dimensions of wellness, and we're going to talk about them, one by one. The one I'm not going to talk about really is because I'm not an expert. I don't pretend to be an expert in things, is financial wellness. That dives really deep into a personal kind of matter. But I'm going to make a caveat to that. Like, I will stress how important it is to have financial wellness in the sense of the number one cause of, like, I don't say no, I don't know if 100%, but it's a big cause of stress is money, finances. That does affect retention, because you can't always give everybody the salary they want, and understandably, I mean, but when you try to improve all the other things, sometimes people will stay for less money if the team is worth it. It's hard to explain, but it is an important part. So there are resources in the world. There are probably resources that, all companies that, that you're going to work for, that have some sort of ability to improve any kind of financial situations. The reason I don't have a slide on it is because I didn't want to sit here and pretend that I know how to make the best budget. I know how to make the budget for me and my family, but I'm not going to write like a giant, budget. It is important though how you that you do focus on this aspect of dimensional wellness. I will say that. So I'm not going to stress on it too much, but it does play a big role in stress. You know, it does play a big role in how you bring certain attitudes into work, Because sometimes people are gonna be like, what am I doing this job for? They're not even paying me this much or this much or this much. Fair enough. I mean, I'm always a big proponent of, everybody get your money. So, but that is a big one. So let's start with emotional wellness. So this is a aspect of emotional intelligence. It's a big way of trying to recognize and understand your emotions, understand what frustrates you, understand, what's going to send you over the edge. Sometimes it could be the way somebody works. That's happened. How somebody, works a little faster than others. So they get frustrated. They don't understand why somebody doesn't, work as, expedient as they do. So they get mad, they get frustrated at them. But it's important to manage, your stress in a healthy way because emotional well-being, it goes beyond just, you know, oh, let's just talk it out. It can be, it could take you out. It is a powerful thing, you know. So figure out what you need to do to be able to deal with this. If it's something that you know that's going to frustrate you, and for me, I don't walk away. What I do is I kind of go silent, and then I kind of digest it for a few days, and then I'll come back with a response. Because I've learned a long time ago, especially when I was younger, is I used to just blurt out what my first emotion was. And that would get me into trouble. So now I kind of go through like this Rolodex in my head of what is the best way of kind of dealing with it. Um, is it helps build healthy relationships. So there was one thing we learned throughout my whole wellness journey. I don't know if anybody's ever done like a DISC assessment. I think it's now called Berkman. Basically, what it does, it teaches you like kind of your work personality, and everybody's different, and it shows how people deal with certain problems. Same thing with emotion. It, not everybody's going to deal with things a certain way. Some people are very good at doing this, and I always say if you deal with somebody that has a high emotional intelligence, I will say, you know, try to hang around that person and see how they do it. I mean, I feel like emotional intelligence is something that's built over time. It's not something that you can just read a book or a pamphlet and you're going to learn. You know, I'm 40 years old and it still takes me, a little bit. Um, I believe that certain genders are really good at handling emotions better than others. Um, but it's how you choose to react to certain things. That's what I will say with emotions. So, and it's what you do. To me, I wear my emotions on my sleeve, so I tend to like talk it out sometimes with my wife, like especially things at work. Now, I think I'm kind of leading her down the wrong path because I only seem to talk to her about like bad things. So now she probably has this idea like, man, your work is terrible. It's really not. It's just like when I want to, like, why would I don't discuss really the good things with her because it's like they're not on my mind. You're not weighing me down. So um, that I actually do feel bad. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, she probably thinks I work terribly. But emotional wellness is not something that either like it's okay to ask for help because it's like I said, it's a big piece of the pie. It's huge. Some of us aren't experts, but we have other ways and we get in these emotional blind spots as well. So asking somebody for help or advice and not just searching out somebody that's going to tell you what you want to hear, and that's a pitfall that we fall into, that is that we only listen to the individuals that are going to tell us yes in our lives. So try to find feedback that is actually, conducive. All right, next one. Sorry, I know I'm kind of getting a rant about emotional wellness because it can play a big part in your mind. It can play a big part in a lot of things that you do. You know, being able to figure out, you know, what drives you, I feel like is a big part of emotional intelligence. But I digress. I know I'll get back to it. But all right, physical wellness. This is a big thing. So I'm not talking about let's go all run marathons. Nope. I'm not going to do that because it hurts. I'm not going to do all that. But it is staying somewhat active through regular exercise, even that is just by walking or, you know, like I used to be an avid runner. Now, like over time, my knees and ankles have given out on me. So I walk at night, or I have a little row machine that I use, and it kind of helps. But physical wellness goes more than just being active. It also involves a regular diet and sleep. So one of the things I've done in the last year or so is I finally went to the doctor and I got diagnosed with sleep apnea, and now I got a CPAP machine. Oh man, the way it has helped me, even just a little bit, like getting a full night's rest like it just changes everything. And to be honest, also my wife is a big fan because now I've stopped snoring. So it's a win-win. It also affects my emotional intelligence. You see how I did that? I connected it. CPAPs are fantastic. Yes, they are a game changer. I always tell everybody, I'm like, you know, I used to have this buddy in the Air Force. He was really physically fit. He's a very all natural kind of person. He 100% believes, and I'm not going to disagree with him, that some of the best medicine in the world is a full 8 hours of sleep. And it's amazing how it can just deal with, when you are fully rested, it can really impact how you deal with certain situations. Um, a balanced diet, even I'm not saying I eat the best. Matter of fact, if you go to my work and you see us eat lunch, they bust my chops about how much I eat for lunch. But that's because I'm a big eater. Now, do I always eat the best? No, but I always eat home cooked meals. I don't always go out to eat on uh like fast foods and stuff. But you notice the more sluggish you kind of eat, the more sluggish you kind of feel. So, mix some things in there. I'm not saying go, keto or whatever carnivore diet. you know do what your body can handle, because everybody's different. Some people have a gluten tolerance, some people are vegan, but do what your body can handle. Everybody's different, so try to figure out what keeps you balanced. um Go to the doctor, prevent illness. Some people are stubborn, they don't want to do it, but the better you feel is the better you're going to react to certain situations. Um, Avoid harmful habits. I will tell you this right now. So, one of the things that I've done in the last 8 months is 8 months ago, I decided to give up drinking. And I have been sober for the last 8 months. And it has helped me tremendously just in that one life change on how better I feel. Like, especially in the morning. Oh man, I enjoy my morning so much more now. I'm not foggy. I'm not miserable. Now, I'm not saying I was bad to where I was drinking before work, but like on the weekends and stuff. And then it's almost kind of started consuming my weekends. So it's also, I've done that, stopped drinking, started helping me feel better, less acid reflux. And then it's helped me motivate me to start being more physically active. And it's even a couple little things like that. It's it's really affected my overall wellness. My wife said she's noticed a change in me. Um, I'm more present. It's these little things that can do that really do improve your overall wellness. One of the things I always say, and now I know we're talking about physical wellness and how I'm talking about being more active. There is a caveat to that. Rest is also a big thing. So if you're somebody at work, and I don't know 100% your guys' work schedules and styles, but sometimes, especially our nursing staff, they're on the go, boom, 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 and it is important to um, also stop for a second and rest. You don't want to burn yourself out and stress yourself out because you're so physically active. I know for some people it's hard. Like it's hard for my mom is this way and my wife is this way. It's hard for them to sit down because they say once they sit down they're done. But there are times where I'm like, you need to take a second and sit down. Here we go. I got a question. Do you have any pointers on helping a male family member get tested for sleep apnea and the benefits? Okay, so what convinced me to get tested? Great, great question. It wasn't just the snoring. My father had to get a pacemaker, and he had a heart condition. Now he's a terrible snorer, and he needs a CPAP, but he refuses to wear it. And I, was reading online that, sleep apnea, long-term effects of sleep apnea, um, can affect your heart health. And, like I said, my kids are young, 5 and 3. I kind of want to be around, watch them grow up. So it was something important for me because I got really scared when my dad had to get a pacemaker in. So um, I was concerned that this was in my future. So I said, okay, what can I do now to, you know, prevent this? So the CPAP was one. The stop drinking was another thing. So that's why I went ahead and got it because I wanted to be around for longer, in my life, and I didn't want my heart to be the reason um, that something that took me out because and if it's something that I can start now and be proactive now, why not? I know there are some illnesses that you can't prevent, but this was one that I can try. So that is why I decided to get tested. And benefits, it's honestly the better the feeling rested and actually getting sleep is it's crazy how long I went without it. And I'm like, I could have been having this the whole time. What in the world? But I didn't have anybody to tell me that I was snoring. I didn't even know it. So yeah, I would recommend it if you feel like they maybe like are worried about their heart, tr- try getting a sleep study done. That's what I would recommend. So that's a great question, Vicky. I like it. Thank you. Occupational wellness. Find something that, is personally satisfied to you. To give you an example, before I got this job now, like I said, it took me a while to look for work. And one of the things I did in the meantime before I found this job is I tried to sell insurance at Allstate. Um, I'm not knocking anybody that sells insurance. If you know somebody that sells insurance, by gosh, get your money, boo-boos. I do not mind that at all. But for me, it wasn't something that I enjoyed. It wasn't, I'll give you an example. So there was we have these calls that you have to make to, it's called win backs. So basically, say if you left Allstate, they keep you on this database and they call you every once in a while to try to win back your business. Already, I'm like, okay, that's sketchy. Um, but you have a profile on somebody, you have their name, address, age, and all this stuff. And this woman's age was like 87. And I go, I don't want to call this 87-year-old woman to talk to her about insurance after she's already left. I don't feel comfortable with that. And this guy next to me literally said, oh, those are my best customers, basically implying like they just give out their money. And I felt like that was taking advantage of, you know, a certain demographic of people. Automatically, I was like, I'm out. I don't want to do this. So being personally satisfied with where you work. I know some people just do your work to, get paid, and that's fine. But try to find some satisfaction. Like my brother is a youth minister, and he feels like he doesn't go to work every day. And I know that's easy to say, do what you love, but there is some, truth to that. Try to find career goals and growth opportunities. Some people don't like to be, here. They like to kind of move up. So find a place or an avenue where you can do that. I think that's really important. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you working towards a goal. Now, there are some individuals that like to be here, and that's it. And that is 100% okay. As long as you know that, as long as you understand, like that is what keeps you personally satisfied at your job. Um, and try to manage your stress in the workplace. Time management. Um, Keeping like work areas clean and cluttered. All of these are, little things that you can do to improve your overall well-being. If you work at a place where you don't see any growth and opportunity, that's going to get you burnout, stress, bored. So that, and then you'll take that home, and then in turn, you'll be stressed at home. So it is a big part of your overall well-being is where you work, what you do, That's why I do love working for a kind of a healthcare kind of situation, watching these nurses, mental health clinicians, these, you know, our doctors, dentists, all this. They provide a service to a population that feels like, they have been left out. And the prison population here in Texas, it's vast, it's big. And you know, they just want healthcare like everybody else. So watching them do it um is it's applauding, and then they really appreciate it. They really do. It is something that, they are doing it for a higher calling, and it is admirable. I don't do anything healthcare. I'm just a guy that helps them when they are stuck in a professional development kind of way. But it is really amazing. A clean desk. Yes, I will spend time organizing my desk, but it's not that you would know that if you saw my desk at this moment. Jeanette, gotta clean it up. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure you like. It's Saturday. You're fine. You don't have to. Yeah, you don't have to do it. But it is a big thing. Because it declutters your mind. I always tell somebody, if you're working on time management, just write it down somewhere, wherever you want. You know, just get it on an Outlook calendar, get it on sticky notes, write it on a list, however you personally do it. I don't like sticky notes. My coworker does, and she has it all over her computer screen. She understands that chaos. I don't, but it's out of her mind. So now she can focus on other things. So when you have a cluttered desk, you automatically look at it and it just starts cluttering up your mind. So every time I clean my desk, they pile more on it. So, um, well, that's part of occupational wellness right there, Carla. I don't like you're gonna have to tell somebody like get out of my face. But that's funny. I like it. Okay. Where are we at? Here we go. Go, go. All right, social well-being. Um, Now I'm not telling everybody to go out and let's start all making friends. That's not what that means. What I mean by that is you want to try to build a strong, supportive relationships. People that are going to be honest with you when you give feedback. There are different types of personalities. When I did this thing on introverts versus extroverts, introverts, I wish I could think more like an introvert. I'm an extrovert, honestly. And so I'll make friends here, 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 here. Introverts, what they do is they'll introduce themselves, but before they give somebody their time, their what's the word I'm looking for? Just their friendship, they are very methodical on who they choose. That's why when you see somebody that's introvert, they probably have like one or two close friends. But those individuals that they have chosen is perfect for them. It's not somebody that is just going to tell them yes all the time. It's not somebody that's just going to, give them what they want to hear. No, they'll pick somebody that's going to be super supportive, that is going to give them honest feedback, and it's going to make them more successful. Um, so it is always, if you have a chance to, if you're an extrovert, try not to always hang out with extroverts. I will say that, mix it up because people that give you different um, kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Not feedback, points of view, give you different points of view is going to make you more successful. But even though you're an introvert, you have to try to communicate effectively. It is a big part of not just management, it's everything that is in the workplace. Team building, conflict, crucial conversations, whatever it may be. Communication is the epicenter of all of that. It perspectives. Thank you, Lisa. Yes, different perspectives. Yes, it does help you grow your world. Um, but learning how to communicate effectively will help you. It builds networks. It it really does fix most issues. Um, I always tell people don't assume people know what you're saying. We had that problem, especially when I was in the military. I know somebody said they were in the army. I bet I would put money on they had this problem too. So when new airmen would come in the Air Force, um, they would ask questions like, "Oh, how do I submit leave or this, or how do I, do this?" And then like NCOs, like people that have been with like me for like 10 years, would be like, "Oh man, you don't know how to do that?" I'm like, they don't know um how to do things if we don't teach them. So like you don't just assume they know what you know. So communicate with them in a calmly, effective manner, obviously. But it is it is important to communicate effectively. Okay, hold on, Linda. I read this and I want to read it out loud. Okay, just keep in mind that we introverts have a limited bandwidth to adopt extroverts. We generally find extroverts exhausting. Ugh. Well, I take that personally. Um, no, I can understand that. I can 100% understand that extroverts are exhausting because we don't know when to just sit there and like be calm. I totally get it. That's funny. My neighbor, he's kind of an introvert, but man, when you break them out of their shell, um, it's they are really funny. They're really like outgoing people. They just choose to show it to certain people. Yeah, no, social interaction is generally exhausting. So my wife's an introvert. She doesn't care too much for it. I can tell you that. Oh, Linda, you started like you drew a line. It looks like in the chat. People are heartbroken. Oh, Linda, you caused a riff in the chat. I love it. Um, but try to be engaging in community activities, team building, at least work wise. I mean, you don't have to go to every little function, but you know, it does help. You want to see um professional growth, so you have to make yourself known. Um, or when you're talking with your leadership or management, be like, hey, this is what I'm comfortable with, and this is what I'm doing. How you communicate it, build that social network. It goes along. Plus, when things go wrong, like you're stressed about something, or you're going through some things, maybe you can't turn to people at work, but you have a good social network at home. That's going to help you improve your well-being. I'll give you an example. Okay. Um, when I first started to go through this sobriety thing, when they say that you're going to lose friends, it's 100% true. It is, you are going to lose people that you used to hang out with because they only known you for like, hey, drinking together. And so you're going to lose them. What I did find is um, when I got on social media, specifically TikTok, there are people that are going through the same thing that are either long into their sobriety journey or just starting. When I started interacting with those TikTok pages, they have been the most supportive people I have ever seen in my life. And it really does help me, like, if I start to think, like, if I lose my way, or if I start to think, like, you know what, I can do it one more time, it'll be fine. They will keep you on the right path. It has been fantastic. I'm telling you, I love just having a simple support group. So, man, y'all are getting at it in the chat. Let's see here. Support team honor their boundaries as you should. I agree, Lisa. That's a good point. It says supportive team members will also honor your boundaries. 100%. Nancy, I used to be an introvert, not so much anymore. I had to get myself a T-shirt that said I'm not bossy, just aggressively helpful. I need to know where you got that T-shirt immediately, Nancy, so I can give it to my wife. That is hilarious. That is. Don't tell her I said any of this. Okay. All right. Intellectual well-being. That is just improving your lifelong learning. It's challenging yourself. Some people get stuck, in the same thing. So if you want to improve your well-being, try to pick up a new hobby or, explore different perspectives, as somebody said earlier, or it helps seek out being more creative. Things that basically I'm asking you to jump out of your comfort zone and try something new, learn something new. So that's why I really enjoyed this aspect of my like this hobby. So somebody gave me an option. They were like, you could do like a YouTube channel on this. To give you an example, it's football stuff. And so I started doing it, and I'm not gonna get famous, but I find it more fun to sit here and I learn like, okay, what's this equipment? What's this? So and all these things, and now I'm excited. So it helps me do it. Um, but the people, especially work wise, if you're always trying to improve, something, there's resources or things you can use. Basically, it just pushes your mind to do things that you thought you couldn't do that you actually can do. It's an important aspect of wellness. I will tell you that. And lastly, spiritual wellness. And I'm going to be very careful here. Um, I'm not talking about, just religion. And I'll give you an example, but, find something that gives you meaning of life. I've talked about this with people. One thing that somebody, they love to do is just get out to nature, meditate, whatever it is, somewhere where you can practice mindfulness, bring yourself peace. It keeps you grounded and it helps you give you a reason why. Why do you wake up in the morning? What is something you do? Recently, my wife and I and our kids, we started going to church, and it has been a blessing. And I didn't realize what I was missing until I started going. That's worked for me. That doesn't have to work for everybody. I'm just telling you the importance of spiritual wellness. I just want to be very clear on that one. So, but find something that, works for you, something that gives you connected to some sort of higher power. Some people sound silly, but I don't really think it is. I think it keeps people pointed true north. Um, and I've noticed because all these eight wellness of dimensions, I'm not saying you have to go fix all eight of them. Mm-mm. That would take up too much time. But pick one, pick two, and work on it. So those were the things I did. I've decided, to work on my physical and my spiritual wellness. And even just those two things has made me feel a lot more recharged and better. So I will say spiritual wellness was one that I felt like it was big in your life, and I wanted to be a better role model for my children for what they saw of me. So that's why I decided to knock those two out first. And you, it's just given me something to look forward to. It's made me want to be more proactive in not only in our church but like in other aspects of my life. You know, so for instance, like I know in my company, we don't have a big training division department or whatever. So I'm gonna have to explore other avenues. So I've been asking about how to do operation stuff and things like that. Yeah. Yes, Christina, thank you. Yeah, mind, body, spirit. They are, yes, the most valuable parts of your whole health. 100%. There's like four pillars, in mind, body, and spirit, I think, are three of them. You know, And oh, you're welcome to that. Yeah, yeah. Being spiritually wellness is, yeah, like I said, it's not necessarily religious. And we had somebody, talk about being grounded to earth, and and that's not something I've always done. But I can tell you what, after I've started this thing, um, doesn't mean I'm not willing to try it. What would it hurt for me to go outside and just, you know, whatever somebody makes them spiritual, well, like if it's nature and they go, hey, I like to do this. I'm like, you know what? If it works for you, let me try it. If it doesn't work for me, guess what? I can move on. You know, it doesn't always have to be the same. Some people it's just meditating. Some people it's yoga. Some people it's music. Whatever works for you. I can tell you what worked for me, and I can tell you the benefits that it did for me. It really does draw the people that you want close to you closer to you. I will tell you that. At least in my experience and my kind of journey that I'm going on right now. And then environmental wellness. Obviously, we talked about this, keeping, places around you health, clean, organized. Um, it just declutters your mind. It is really um, yeah. I mean, that's a good point. No, I'm sorry, I'm gonna jump to Linda's comment. That's really good. A lot of people do have religion trauma. So there are other spiritual systems that you can use. And like I said, this isn't like, hey, let's all do Richard Wilson's, wellness plan. No, this is individually based to you. You will know what makes you feel good, what makes you feel bad, what isn't working for you. And if it's not working for you, then why would you, why would you want to continue on that path? It's just going to make you more stressed. So, whatever gets you to a level of peace and overall wellness that you can deal with stress, deal with situations, and you bring it into work and you're not there to create chaos. That's all this is. These are just broken down into certain dimensions that help you control each one. It makes it less overwhelming. So it's like, okay, you got to do this, 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 you know. No, try doing one thing and then try another. You're not here to, change your whole being overnight. You're here to work on what you feel like is making you most stressful and then do it. Vicky, okay, I've been reading blogs about minimalism and I find it helped motivate me to reduce the physical and mental clutter. Oh, awesome. That's something that I have not read about. Understand the concept, isn't it? Like you're just getting rid of things that are unnecessary in your life. Like basically you only keep the things that you absolutely need. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Vicky, because I would love to learn more about minimalism. But like I said, I have three children. If I try to get rid of things, they're gonna like, we have too much toys around here, I'm telling you. So, but I would love to know more about that, Vicky, actually, when you have a chance. Unless you want to talk about it a little bit right now. It's up to you. You don't have to. Yeah. Okay. Um, But no, I mean, that does play a part. If it's something that's going to help your physical and mental clutter, that's what environmental wellness is. It's just to help to keep you, you deal with the physical and it helps with the mental. That's all it is, you know. But there are barriers to trying to improve your wellness, and it's not just at work, it can be at home too. Stress, because like people think like they're already burnt out, so they don't want to start working on all these things. That's why it's broken down in each dimension. So, and I know I just said this, but that's a big barrier. Actually, let me go. I think I have. Yep. Okay. So I'm gonna go through each one. So burnout and stress. It's just, I think Carla said it earlier. Every time she gets clutter off her desk, they bring her another, bring her more, clear that off, bring her more. So that's gonna cause a lot of pressure, a lot of, burnout. Um, People are emotionally exhausted, so then it reduces this your performance. And then once you're stressed or you're burnout, you're not getting sleep. You're not, some people like my wife can go all day, and I don't know how this happens, but she can go all day, and then all of a sudden she'll go, "Oh my God, I forgot to eat today." Like, are you nuts? You forgot to eat today, but it can have a strain on her physical and mental health. So understanding what, if you're going too much and listening to the people that go, "Hey, take a break," and some people feel like if they take a break they're going to fall behind. So yeah, lucky for me, Carla goes, "I love my job, it gets crazy, but I have a lot of support." Perfect. That's great, I love it. Ooh, Vicky, okay, I want to read what Vicky wrote. Yes, it helps free up your time that it takes to clean and pick up items around the house because everywhere has its place. No longer taking hours on weekends picking up and cleaning, but having time to myself and my family to enjoy life. I love that. um I especially like, and you know what? I agree with you because it does take us a long period of time to clean up. Now, I don't know, it's because, we have two boys that like to take this toy out, this toy out, this toy out. Um, and me and my wife spend time each day cleaning up, like generally throughout most of the evenings. And we'll do the dishes every night. So it does feel better in the morning to, have all that clean so it doesn't feel like we're just waking up and it's like, ugh, this is how my day's gonna go. But I feel like, yeah, if you took out the unnecessary items and like the less time to clean up, that we would have more time, to ourselves. So I love that. I might actually read up on that. Thank you, Vicky. See? Some things I didn't know, and like I didn't even think about it. And yeah. Oh, wow. Thank you. I'm gonna read about that. I appreciate that. Poor communication. That always leads to frustration because people misunderstand things all the time. I'll give you an example. So today, I took my son this morning to Home Depot. They do like this kids little craft thing. I wish I had it. I don't. Where we built like a leprechaun trap. So this like little nails, little hammers and all that. And then you and, your kids, you can come and you build it and paint it and stuff like that. Well, I got there at 9:30 because I was going to take like, it took me like us 30 minutes to do it because I wanted to get back home in time for this. And so my brother-in-law was coming and he didn't get there until 10:20, and it was frustrating. And so I was like, "Hey man, I'm sorry. I gotta go do my thing." So I didn't get to spend time with my brother-in-law and my niece like I wanted to. Um, but it and then he even told me, he's like, "Yeah, I told my wife that we were leaving at 9:30, but I forgot we had to be here at 9:30." And I was like, "Nah, That's no bueno. But that's what I mean. Like communication can cause it. Now, imagine that little small problem, but at work and constant. Like it's annoying. So, um, communication can reduce teamwork and trust. We have that a lot. There are conflicts all the time that kill morale, that cause rifts in teams, all because of communication. That's all it is. Like, oh, so and so said this. I think they meant it this way. And then you get back to the other person, they're like, no, I meant it this way. It happens all the time. But it causes people to stress out about it because they're there every day dealing with this conflict. So then they can't just enjoy being at their job because they don't have, a team kind of environment. There's no trust for other people to do what they feel like they need to get done. It is a big issue. Lack of support. I know Carla just talked about her support, even though I like what she said. She always has this crazy job, but she loves it and she has a lot of support. So she feels blessed. Now, imagine if she had all that, but didn't have the support. It would just be frustrating. So the thing with support is always trying to find a good work-life balance. Oop, hold on. I'm going to read these comments. These are good. All right. Sometimes it's because they weren't listening, they were distracted. 100%. That happens a lot. Communicating is not just about talking, it's also about active listening. Yeah, and that can be frustrating too, especially if you feel like you're talking to somebody and they're not listening. It's like, then why do I want to talk to you anymore? Then it's just going to kill, even trying to build this team environment because you're like, you're not going to listen to me. Why would I continue talking to you? Lack of proper communication or field can cause patient harm. 100%. So that is something that is my main goal is patient care. If problems become so big they start affecting patient care, then we've got to like something's got to be done. We also have a very unique patient population. So we don't need staff arguing in front of our patients slash inmates. Because you know what? Inmates have nothing but time. And if they see that there's a break in the armor, they are going to try to infiltrate. It happens constantly. If anybody's ever worked in a correctional setting. So yes, I'm in patient safety now, and most of the harm events are because of poor communication. 100%. It it goes beyond more than just like team building and trust and stuff like that. Communication is crazy. I've seen a lot of burnout that makes me not want to work there anymore. It brings me down. I always think to myself, if the burnout is coming, then take some time off or do something different. So that's work-life balance is big. Luckily, I work in a place that promotes, taking PTO and stuff like that. So it is important because you have to have time to recharge your batteries. If people feel undervalued or overwhelmed, it can be, frustrating. There's something that's always done is if you constantly compare employees and you think like, why would somebody do that? It happens. So like if you're always publicly praising one person over another and then like never publicly praising another one, it's gonna create like some sort of tension. I've seen it. It's crazy funny. Um, but yeah, if you have lack of support and flexibility to be able to take time for your family or whatever it is you want to do, it's gonna in like not in, it's gonna cause a rift in your own wellness. And then we talked, I know people were talking about this unhealthy work culture. Sorry. Um, if you are, it's sometimes we have places that just let conflict build or let somebody like kind of bully other people. And because it's hard to just get rid of employees nowadays. There has to be a significant reason. But this is a big one that will kill wellness because if it's already unhealthy work culture and they're not willing to like improve the work culture, then then people go, then why am I going to try to improve myself just to come to work and have it kind of just be squashed. There's no point, which I totally get. You know, that is one of the reasons why I left my last job because of the main HR had their favorites. Yeah, it it happens everywhere. It's not just like specific to like, oh, correctional managed care. There are sometimes that people that are in positions to fix things, you know, they're dirtbags too. So it happens. But unhealthy work cultures can, let me phrase this, healthy work cultures are what keeps people around. It's what is one of the main reasons why people will stay whenever retention or not, whenever money isn't one of the ways you can fix retention. What's the second way? Having a healthy work culture. It's literally like, okay, we can't fix the money problem, but what we can give you is a supportive team environment. That is what is happening at my employment. So it is frustrating. I understand that, especially whenever here's my least favorite thing people say too sometimes. It's like, "Oh, that's always how we've done it." It's like, "Okay, but now it's 2026. Can we not figure out a way to like, especially if somebody's been there a while, just because they've been there a while doesn't mean they get complacent. Doesn't mean they don't get, they don't stay sharp forever. So there are people that even the longer they've been there, sometimes they are the ones that causing the most problems. And then people will be like, oh, but they've been here 20 years. They've been here so and so. Okay. And, they were a jerk yesterday. It doesn't mean just because they worked, they got hired on 19 years ago, doesn't mean they weren't a turd yesterday. So, sorry. But yeah, it gets me frustrated when people just make excuses by giving like longevity as the answer. So, because it happens, it's a barrier. It happens all the time. All right, how to make improvement. So now think of this as like so this was a kind of a team aspect when I was giving this to managers, but I'm going to kind of discuss it as in a team environment. So how to improve overall wellness. Model self-care. If you're somebody that is really good at and you see somebody struggling with stress all the time, help them out. Try to tell them what's worked for you, what hasn't. And that like and do it kind of in the way of like how I kind of talked about the spiritual wellness. Don't tell them like, hey, this is the only way. Give them options, especially when it's talking about physical or spiritual. Let them know what you see, what you think is stressing them out. And if they see other people that, hey, they're taking time to prioritize their wellness and well-being and it's working for them, maybe I should do the same. Um, Here we go. It's also crazy how you can't get a good spot in a job if you don't have any connections. That, yeah, 100%. So, um, there are, I'm trying to figure out a way to say this. So, like, there was a time where we were gonna have a bigger training department, and there was a position they were going to open up. It was called Director of Professional Development. And I was like, oh, that's in my wheelhouse. I was very stoked for that. The salary would have been good for me and my family, and the title would have been fancy. And I went to talk to my boss about it, and she was like, "Oh, I don't know if you're ready for that. I think they want somebody that has 10 years in the company." And I'm like, "Why though?" It's like because I have been doing the professional development for CMC, but because somebody's just been here like 6 years more than me, they automatically get it, and I don't even get a chance. So like that was frustrating. Susan, I worked in a psychiatry practice with 14 providers for 10 years. Mental health days for the staff were mandatory. I can 100% see that because I feel like that is a mentally stressful position, Susan. That is wild. 14 providers. What was the patient population? Like how many patients did y'all have? Because the 14 providers, that's wild. But yeah, mental health days are very important. Um, and that goes to practice empathy. Understand and respond to what employees need. So when somebody comes to you and say they're stressed about this, what people don't need is you to like somebody to go, oh yeah, but I've been through this, or I've been through this. What may seem small to you, to this individual, is the world. So treating it like it's nothing is going to kill trust. But also, you got to set boundaries whenever you're talking about work-life balance, not talking about empathy. I will say that. When, you take time off for work, take time off. Don't the building's not nothing is going to burn down if you don't answer that email right away. You know, that's like they have you do a job that that they are looking to hire, but you don't get that job because they want you to trim them. Haha. Yes. All right, narcotics. I currently work in an internal and family medicine practice with 28 providers. Whoa. Oh, to train them, trim them, train them. Yes. Yeah. And see, that would have frustrated me if somebody got that job and I would have worked under them and then having to do all this stuff. I would have been frustrated. Um, yeah, 28 providers, so many personalities. Some people show empathy differently. Some people don't always, want to talk the talk, but it is something that happens. So, um, and I know this says as a manager, but think of this as a team player. Your actions set the tone. For instance, when my two boys are doing something, when my 4-year-old does something, my 2-year-old's going to do it. So, um, like the other day, my 4-year-old, he threw a rock. My 2-year-old picked up a rock, threw it, and I said, "See, he watched you do it. Now he's doing it." I tell him all the time he's got to lead by example. Okay. Nancy goes, at my job, time off or weekend assignments were based on seniority. Hey, I don't like that. Okay. I was in a small department of 8, and most of the lower seniority workers had young children. Okay. I would often volunteer to do the holiday or weekend so they could be with their children as mine were adults. Nancy, that's very sweet of you. If I worked with you, I would have very appreciated it. But as long as on that aspect, Nancy, like as long as they kind of fill in for that, kind of make it up to you. Um, did they always do that? Let me know because I mean that's very nice to like do the weekends and holidays so people can spend time with their children, but and that's also not fair to you, So I'm curious to see if they somehow would make it up to you, your other coworkers for sure. Um, build a supportive culture. So in a management style, I always say try to build team bonding activities. We did one earlier in the month for our administrative staff, um, and it went smooth. But say in a team aspect, try to build, when I say team bonding, try to get everybody involved. Try to just to get to know everybody. Because some people are just going to be like, oh, I'm going to go work over here. I'm going to go work over here. No, I'm going to work over here. Try to bring everybody together because, it takes more than one person to keep an engine going. Okay, there we go. Promote work relationships. And then you want to create a sense of community in your workplace. That's what building a supportive culture is. If you have that support, then when things do get stressed or burn out, you have other people to lean on. Oh, Nancy answered. Okay. It wasn't always, they were always helpful to me also. Oh, well, I'm sorry. But I mean, it's good that they were helpful, but I was kind of hoping like, you know, there was some sort of, give and take there. Because you don't want to constantly be the person that gives and doesn't get anything, because then that's going to cause burnout and stress. But, well, Nancy, it just sounds like you're just a sweet person. Well, thank you. And this is, of course, in the management things, but you can also do this as a team member, is when you recognize and reward people's contributions. And this can be in the sense of like, hey, um, some people just like a verbal confirmation. Because if you're only talking about um, negative things to somebody, every time they talk to you, they're always going to assume it's negative. There's just ways to just recognize personally to what somebody likes. Because not everybody likes, like, they don't like to be publicly recognized. They like to just be like, hey, told thank you and stuff like that. But it boosts morale. That's what I will say. It is a big morale booster. And all right, Joanne, what kind of activities are team building? So, any kind that I like to focus on communication. I will give you an example. All right. Okay. Yes, sometimes team building activities can be cringy. All right. Um, I don't like to do the ones, I don't do icebreakers. I don't like to do like, oh, tell me a fun fact about yourself. No, no, no. I like to put people in situations to show them what could happen. So here's my favorite one. What I do is I get a team of 3. One of the persons is blindfolded, and they have to walk across the room. They have to get to a cup, and in that cup is a certain color marker that I want them to get. Other team member is back turned towards that individual, and they can't see them, but they are giving them verbal commands. And then there's a third person that can see them, but they can't say anything. All they can do is give the person verbal commands like hand gestures and head gestures. And then I put chairs in the way and stuff like that. They have to go around these obstacles. But imagine like four teams doing that at once. You got four people yelling, trying to give directions. What I try to do is show that a task is simple on paper. Walk across a room, give me a cup, or give me a marker out of the cup. Easy enough. But when you throw all these communication barriers in, like blindfolded, things are in the way, person communicating can't look at you, blah, 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 it makes it a lot difficult. That one always seems to be fun because people are always like going off in different directions and stuff. Oh my God, it was hilarious when we just did it. There's some other ones too. If you want, you can email me and I'll make like a little list. And but some of them are cringy. I will give you that. And that was one of the challenges I had when I started doing team building activities is to try to find one that people can see value in and see and actually have fun with it. So I will say like team building activities that get people up and moving is really good. Yeah, so people have done escape rooms. That's a good one. It's such a great team builder. It reinforces communication, goal setting, and trust among the team. Very good. And if you have the resources to do outside team building, I would 100% recommend it. Like doing some sort of morale day is important too. So 100%. That's a good one. I want to do an escape room again. Try to encourage physical change. So encourage people to take rest, to move if they need to, short breaks, frequent breaks, whatever people are burnt out for. Try to, if people sit behind a desk, behind a screen all day, try to get them to be more active a little bit, especially just for the day. Get some sun, you know, stuff like that. And people will do it if you're doing it as well. So like I see my senior leadership, they always go outside the building, they walk around the building when it's nice outside, and it really does like you see somebody doing, you're like, you know what, I need to do that too, you know. And then foster professional development. Try to give growth opportunities when you can, which I know we're talking about in a team aspect here, but you want to empower individuals who do want to invest in their growth. So if somebody comes to you and be like, oh, I'm thinking about taking classes, to do this, 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 just be supportive, especially in a team environment. You're trying to build a culture that shows like, hey, we're not always going to be here. Like what I mean by that is like, there's always going to be a replacement for somebody, or you know, people are going to retire. So trying to foster being more supportive of that growth, it goes a long way when it comes to team building. Let me see here, and then manage your workloads and expectations. Again, this is like in a management kind of aspect, but you know, in yourself, try to give yourself clear expectations, what you want to do. Be mindful of how much workload you're giving yourself. Be realistic. Don't give yourself too much to do. Don't bite off more than you can chew. And then, if workload gets too much, don't be afraid to ask for help or don't be afraid to offer somebody help because this will go a long way in that kind of team building environment. And how do you know if it's working? When you see people around you that are showing up and they're actually engaging, they're actually talking, you know, that people actually want to be there. You have less absenteeism, there's more teamwork. It goes a long way. So last one, let's do this. Like, so the bottom line, building your well-being increases your productivity, retention. I know we talked about in the engagement. And then try to prioritize your work-life balance and mental health. Work on a few things. Try to at least try to do one thing different, different habits, different well-being initiative. Take one of the wheels. I don't care which one it is, whichever one you feel like is more important to you, and try to make a change for the better. You'll be amazed when you see like when you do one, how easy it is to tackle another. And once you do like two or three of them, you can start to see that overall change in your well-being. So just try one thing. It's also staying consistent. So let me go ahead and stop sharing this screen so I can see everybody. But I mean, for well-being, that's really all I had. I know it seems like it's overwhelming or seems like, it's quite simple. It's just you choosing what works best for you because this is your life. And that's what's going to cause you to be less or more stressed depending on how you do it. And if you feel like it's not working for you, move on. It's okay. It's not a test. So all these things can help you to bring less stress in the workplace And it's super important because, especially where I work, because we already work in a really stressful environment. They work in a prison. So why would you want to bring more stress onto that? So, um, but yeah, that is all I had on well-being. Are there any questions before I turn it back over? Thank you so much for being engaging in the chat. It makes it a lot easier. Y'all were fantastic. So I'll open up to anybody else that has questions.